This is a World Cup 2026 update. Filling in for Talking Ginger at the TNO Sports Desk, Talking Paul.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Talking Paul, and welcome to day 15 of the FIFA World Cup. Boy, do we have a lot to get through today, so let's kick it off with our match recaps from yesterday. On the schedule, we had Switzerland against Canada, Bosnia and Herzegovina against Qatar, Morocco against Haiti, Scotland against Brazil, South Africa versus South Korea, and Czechia against Mexico. Canada finished second in Group B of the World Cup, making history despite a 2-1 loss to Switzerland in Vancouver yesterday. Striker Promise David scored his first of the tournament less than a minute after stepping onto the pitch in the second half to make it 2-1. Switzerland's Ruben Vargas and Johan Manzabi scored first to give their team the edge at BC Place. Canada actually led in a decent amount of stats, helped by the fact that they threw everything at the Swiss box to find an equalizer, while the European visitors sat back to defend their lead. Still, the result means the Canadians will no longer have home field advantage, instead traveling to Los Angeles for the next match at noon Pacific time on Sunday. Bosnia and Herzegovina eliminated Qatar and boosted their chances of advancing at the World Cup with a 3-1 victory in a Group B match. With the victory, third-place Bosnia and Herzegovina are more than likely to advance to the round of 32 in the expanded field. Their likely opponent would be one of the tournament's co-hosts in the United States. The 8 best third-place finishers across the 12 groups advance. Should Bosnia and Herzegovina advance to the knockout round, it would mark the first time in their national team history after only playing in one other World Cup in 2014 in Brazil. Sofiane Rahimi and Jassem Yassin came off the bench to help Morocco rally for a 4-2 victory over Haiti yesterday and erase the Caribbean nation's hopes of a first-ever point at the World Cup. Morocco, which became the first African team to reach the World Cup semifinals 4 years ago, twice came from behind against a team playing on soccer's biggest stage for the first time in 52 years. Rahimi's deflected shot in the 78th minute put Morocco ahead 3-2, and Yassin killed off any chance of an upset with a goal in the 89th. Morocco advanced to the round of 32 in second place behind Brazil in Group C. The 5-time champion Brazilians beat Scotland 3-0 in the other group match. We'll get to that shortly. Morocco, which won the most recent Africa Cup of Nations, has ambitions to go deep again this year. But it was given a scare by Haiti, which is 74 places below Morocco in the FIFA rankings. Brazil advanced to the knockout stages of the World Cup in style after Vinicius Jr. netted twice in a 3-0 win over Scotland in their final Group C match. Neymar also made his first appearance in a Brazil shirt in 3 years. The victory yesterday came at a full house in Miami Stadium where 64,478 fans watched Carlo Ancelotti's side top the group with 7 points. Vinicius has scored in every game so far, and the 25-year-old has 4 goals in the tournament to find himself in elite company. South Africa advanced to the knockout phase of the World Cup for the first time with a 1-0 victory over South Korea yesterday. Tapelo Maseko scored in the 63rd minute off a precise cross from Tapang Morimi, and South Africa finished in second place in Group A behind Mexico. South Africa will take on Canada, the second place finisher in Group B, in a knockout game Sunday at Inglewood, California. The momentum continues to build for Mexico, who wrapped up their World Cup group stage commitments with a third straight victory by confidentially swatting Czechia aside 3-0. The defeat in turn means Czechia have been eliminated. The co-hosts came into this contest already certain of top spot in Group A and a place in the round of 32. Czechia, however, needed a positive result in order to stand any chance of joining L3 in the knockout stage. However, it wasn't to be. Now let's get to today's schedule with 6 games on tap. We have Curacao against Ivory Coast, Ecuador against Germany, Tunisia versus the Netherlands, Japan against Sweden, Turkey against the United States, and Paraguay against Australia. The smallest nation ever to reach a World Cup has one more shot at the knockouts, and it is a hard one. Curacao sit bottom of Group E on a single point and have to beat Ivory Coast in Philadelphia to have any chance of sneaking through as a best third-place team. Ivory Coast, meanwhile, can clinch second with a draw on 3 points. Manager Dick Advocaat's group has already made history just by being here. Now they need a result against one of the best squads they have faced. Ivory Coast have the deeper, more talented squad, they control their own fate, and Curacao were taken apart 7-1 by Germany in their opener. But Curacao drew Ecuador and will not roll over, and a team with nothing to lose against one playing for a point is exactly the kind of game that can get awkward. And speaking of Ecuador, they have failed to live up to expectations so far in the World Cup. They have failed to score in their first 2 games, one of which against Curacao, in which they had 15 shots on goal. Now they're in a spot where they have to beat Germany if they want to advance to the knockout stage. Germany has already locked up Group E with wins against both Ivory Coast and Curacao. The Netherlands will face Tunisia in their third and final Group F match of the World Cup at Kansas City Stadium today on FS1. This match marks the first ever competitive meeting between the two nations. Netherlands controls its own path to the knockout stage and is in a great position to advance, regardless of the result against the already eliminated Tunisia. With a 2-2 draw versus Japan and a 5-1 win over Sweden in its first 2 games this summer, Netherlands is officially unbeaten in 14 straight World Cup games, the longest streak in tournament history. Its last loss was in the 2010 final to Spain. Meanwhile, after its opening 5-1 loss to Sweden, Sabri Lamucci became the first manager fired mid-World Cup after 1 game. Tunisia didn't look much better against Japan as it lost 4-0 and has already been eliminated from the tournament. Japan will face Sweden in their third Group F match of the World Cup at Dallas Stadium on Fox. This match has massive implications as the winner will advance to the round of 32. Both teams can even win Group F with a win and a Netherlands loss or draw. After coming from behind twice to draw Netherlands 2-2 in the opener, Japan dominated Tunisia 4-0 last Saturday, becoming the first AFC team to score 4 goals in a World Cup match. To show the domination, Japan had 61% possession against Tunisia, which was its second most in a World Cup game ever. Additionally, Japan's 2 shots conceded were its fewest in any of its 27 World Cup matches. Meanwhile, after a perfect start to the tournament in which Sweden routed Tunisia 5-1 in its opener, the Netherlands flipped the script, beating Sweden 5-1 last Saturday. The loss to Netherlands was Sweden's worst loss at the World Cup since its 7-1 loss to Brazil in 1950. The U.S. knows it is moving on as the Group D winner, and Turkey knows it is going home, but the 2 teams still will meet in a group stage finale that has lost a fair bit of the luster it boasted prior to the tournament. Turkey is still seeking its first goal of the tournament, falling 2-0 to Australia and 1-0 to Paraguay despite firing off many shots in both games. The shots haven't been good enough to get on target or beat the keeper, resulting in Turkey's early elimination. The U.S. is likely to play an alternate lineup, protecting players who saw yellow cards in the first 2 games and would risk a suspension if they picked up a third. They may see the return of Christian Pulisic, who missed the match against Australia with a calf issue. The attacker is unlikely to start, but has been training with the full group and may be an option for a cameo off the bench to get rhythm back before the round 32 game with Bosnia. Overall, it's a game that doesn't look likely to have major ramifications on the tournament, but will be one that could spring into a contest that delights the neutrals. And finally, Paraguay and Australia will do battle for second place in Group D, with both sides looking to join the United States in the World Cup knockout stages. The 2 teams arrived for the winner-takes-all clash in San Francisco, having recorded a victory and defeat in their opening 2 matches. A draw would be enough for Australia, who have the edge on goal difference, to secure a top 2 finish. All would not be lost for whoever has to settle for third place, but they will have to wait for results from elsewhere before planning for the round of 32. Paraguay responded to their heavy 4-1 defeat against USA by somehow holding out for a narrow 1-0 win over Turkey, whose elimination was subsequently confirmed with a game to spare. And that will wrap things up for today's Daily Update. I'm Talking Paul, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow with another update.
This has been a World Cup 2026 update.